Now we're getting that thing straight.
So basically, if you guys look at this, you can notice that there's no differentiation between what's been lapped and then the natural color of the ring, which is black. If these were not true, you'd see black showing through in certain areas, and Mark's the wizard at getting these completely true.
And you can see that if we have any misalignment here, we've taken pretty much most of it off of the front right here, and we're down to where we're just barely touching back here, so we have a perfect bed for that scope to lay in. The thing just glides in there. If you're mounting a scope and you've got any kind of binding in the rings, I mean, you'll feel it. It won't even want to turn, but this thing is just perfectly laid in there, and that's what you need. No pressure on the scope. So what we're looking here for is your consistency when you shoulder the rifle.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody, when they bring their rifle up, their head is either forward, back. It's always in a different position, but generally they have some consistency. All right, go ahead and shoulder the rifle. All right, so we're about a ½ inch behind the point of the comb. Okay, relax. Don't think about what we're doing. Just shoulder the rifle again. Same location. Okay, drop it down. Same location. So he is consistently about a ½ inch behind the point of the comb here. All right, that's his natural position. Now what we want to do is we want to adjust that scope to your natural position. Okay, go ahead and bring it up again. So slide your head forward slightly until you get a dark ring.
Okay.
Okay, right there. So he's come to here. All right, now slide your head back. It'll clear up and then it'll get dark again.
About here.
Okay, so here's his window. About right there. Here's his window, a ½ inch behind, in front of the comb and 1 inch behind the comb, yet his mid is right in the middle of where that window is. So what he's done is he's slid his head forward to the dark ring, back to the dark ring, and we know where the window is set for the scope, the position the scope is on the rifle. And we're seeing if you're fitting in the middle of that. Okay, so drop it down, relax. We're going to come up one more time. Natural position. Good. So the front of his window was here, the back of his window was back here. He is precisely in the middle of the window where that scope is set right now. We wouldn't move that scope forward or back.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right when you shoulder it, you got a clear view?
Clear view, no black whatsoever. But you guys know if you've ever looked through scopes before, or someone else's scope that isn't set for you, you're just like, whoa, there's black, how can I see everything? But yeah, the way that this is set up with how I shoulder the gun is crystal clear.
Yeah, so if you shouldered a little further forward, then obviously we'd want to scoot that scope forward a little bit so you're in the middle of that window. We're just moving the window of the scope forward or back to match what the center of your natural position is. Okay, on Weatherby, the level part of the action is right back here. As you can see, we don't have the gun in the vise level, so go ahead and level the rifle. Okay, right there, we're sitting straight up and down with the rifle. The next thing we've got to do is we've got to match the vertical crosshair with the plumb string that's downrange.
Okay.
While maintaining level of the rifle and matching that plumb string, we know that the scope is perfectly square on the rifle.
Okay. So guys, down at on this far wall, there's a red vertical plumb string that runs all the way down against a white wall. So like Mark just said, you want to get the vertical crosshair completely lined up with that plumb string. That's going to make sure that the scope is exactly where it needs to be.
And if that's not centered,
it's not centered, it's not off. And if you extrapolate that out to distance, that's when you're going to get those inaccuracies shooting beyond probably 100 or 200 yards.
We've set the eye relief on the scope. We don't want to slide the scope back and forth. You're just going to maintain level of the rifle. Then you're going to look through the scope and you can turn the scope to match the plumb string down there. Okay. Totally cover the string, or you'll leave some showing top and none at the bottom. That's where we make the adjustment to square it up. What do you think? Feel better this time?
would you crank that down?
Hard to know. You only doing this a couple times. It's like, what are you exactly looking for? You can still see red through the thin crosshair, right?
Right, but if you slide this back and forth, you've got it perfect. You totally eliminate the string by just sweeping back and forth a little bit. Okay. Now what we have is we have the tail, the imaginary tail of the crosshair crossing through the center of the bore.
Yep. Okay.
If that scope is rotated clockwise or counterclockwise, and the tail of that reticle will pass to the side, one side or the other of the bore. We've got it perfect, so it's going through the center of the bore. Okay.
So now don't bump it, right?
And we'll double check it as we snug this down.
So for people that haven't shot at much distance before, why is the level so important?
It's, you know, everybody thinks the bubble level is something new. But clear back in the 1860s, those old buffalo hunters that were shooting the buffalo at, you know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1,200 yards was not uncommon to shoot buffalo. Those guys were using a Creedmoor sight that they roll up on the back. They knew that if that Creedmoor sight wasn't standing straight up and down, they were way off the mark out there at long range. They used a bubble level clear back in the 1860s on those old Sharps rifles. They called it a spirit level, and it was out on the end of the rifle. So the bubble level thing is nothing new. It's just a known fact that if you're twisting or turning the rifle during a shot, first of all, the scope needs to be mounted right. Second, if you're rolling the rifle or not holding it straight up and down, it moves the bullet strike way off the mark.
Yeah. So I think for us, we use a lot of bubble levels now on our archery sights. If you've ever gone to like a 3D shoot or shot any kind of distance where you think you're level and then you look at your bubble, oftentimes it's quite a bit of a difference between being on or off. And if you've ever shot when your level is off, you can see how much less accurate you are compared to when your bubble is perfect, especially at distance, because it's just, again, extrapolated out. The further you go, the more variation you're going to have to miss. So
it's a real simple test. Next time you're at the range with a rifle, hold the rifle straight up and down and fire a shot at your target. Intentionally cant the rifle to the left or roll the rifle to the left. Fire a shot. Intentionally roll it to the right. Fire a shot. You get down to your target, you've got a rainbow down there.
yeah,
It just makes sense, huh? I
totally.
mean,
Yeah.
that's the bubble's been huge for me these last couple years, and so we're putting it on now because we're leveling it with the gun itself, right?
That's right. We're going to match these two bubble levels. If you come in from behind, you can see this level on the rifle. The rifle is still sitting straight up and down. And now we've put this bubble in place, and it matches this bubble. All right, so we've covered leveling the rifle and squaring the scope up using the reticle on a plumb string. Okay? You'll see a lot of instructions for these bubble levels to use the exterior of the scope to level the scope. I even see them doing this at sporting goods stores today, but if we were to use the exterior of the scope, you can see that this bubble is way off. You've got to use the reticle to square the scope. No other way to do it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Look at that.
Mark was saying too that on these Weatherbys in particular, the best place to put the level is back here, correct?
Right. On the back of the action, remove the bolt, and the level spot on a Weatherby is right here.
So just real quick, he basically just looked right down the bore. There's a mark down on there that we can see that was perfectly centered within the bore. But when you look at the scope, not moving the gun at all, the crosshairs were to the right about a foot. So he made some adjustments, and now the crosshairs are on the same exact black dot that the bore is on. Should get you pretty dang close for your initial setup.
So the goal here is to find the speed.
Actually, where we're shooting factory ammo, we'll just establish what the speed is so we know what the speed is down this barrel.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little to the right, 3179.
All right, that one's done for now, huh? We'll have to take that one out to the range next. Okay guys, Brian is going to be going through the same steps as I did. Starting at 500, and then we'll dial everything after that, but here he goes.
Okay. When you're ready. Okay. It was low and left off the target.
Okay.
So let's bring it up 5 clicks. So just unscrew. Okay, so go to 4.2 again.
How'd that last shot feel?
Feel better.
Yeah, it was right and left was good. Right, he's going for 700.
Ready. See it just below dead center?
Okay.
So we got to come up a little bit. 1, 2 clicks. Okay, what's that got us at?
It's got us at 10.
Okay, let's go 15.5. And we're going 900 yards.
Here you go, straight to 900.
Okay.
Okay. Good. We're pretty darn close right there. Elevation is good. A little bit of drift to the left.
Yeah.
That's the mirage. The wind is moving
Right.
that bullet that far. This one, the 300 compared to the 3378, you'll experience a little more drift because we're not quite as fast.
Right, that makes sense. Okay.
Same bullet, same coefficient, but 150 feet slower.
Okay.
Okay? Let's go to 1,000 yards. And we're going to average up just a little bit.
Go to
because
19 maybe?
We went 15.5 right here.
Yep.
1,000 yards.
Okay. Okay, 10 seconds. Give me another one. You've heard guys at the range, I can't shoot because my barrel's too hot.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons I'm trying to get you to work through that, because when you've got a round in there that's chambered,
The longer it waits,
the longer it sits,
the more inaccurate it's going to be, right? I remember you telling us this last time.
that thing's turning into a sponge. I mean, that brass is pulling that heat out of that chamber like crazy.
Yeah.
And when we pull that much heat into that cartridge, we change the burn rate of the powder. If we're changing the burn rate, we're changing the velocity.
Sure.
As soon as we change the velocity, we're out of that happy vibration and our accuracy goes away. So whenever the chamber is hot, you want to make sure that you're not cooking around. Feel how hot that is?
It's crazy.
That's when the chamber is hot. When
Yeah.
it's cold, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But you got to pay attention to that kind of stuff. So when I'm having you line up on the target, get locked on the target, get this thing leveled off, and get that thing sent, because we don't want to cook that round.
Yeah,
We
okay.
want to move that through there as fast as we can.
That makes sense.
It'll make you a better shot.
Yeah, there's so many details that Mark is a wizard at. And if you don't shoot a lot, these are little things that you have to just practice. But for me, acquiring the target and then trying to get the bubble perfect, and then, like he was saying, he calls it screwdriver's hand, making sure you lock that in place versus rolling it seems to be something I need to do a lot better job at, which is just repetition, honestly. And technique. It's a lot of technique, but making sure that bubble's level and then just using your offhand to slide versus trying to like adjust it with your hand is a big difference maker in how fast you can get that shot off and accurately. So the luxuries of your own long-range shooting course.
Only after the grain's been cut.
Yeah.
You're 700, right?
Yep.
After every time they shoot, they just run a quick coat of paint on it. Look, so that's 700. Man, right and left was good on all those. Just gonna throw some paint up on there. So you get a fresh start every time, huh?
This is where I learned to paint.
You got good painting skills. based off
Never
this.
dip the brush deeper than the tip. That's it. That's all you need.
All right, here's the 1,000 yard target. A lot in the center, some low. This is when we brought your last ones up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your group was like those two.
That's 3 different rifles.
Yeah, that's true. So we had your 6.5, 300, my 3378, and your 300.
Yep.
All at 1,000 yards. Crazy. All right, guys. So that was a great day up here in Cache Valley with Mark from Thompson Long Range. So if you guys are interested in getting set up or taking one of his classes, contact him at what? ThompsonLongRange.com.
That'll work. Just send me a question if you got a question on how it all works, and we'll get right back to you.
Hey, and good news, we might be, don't take my word for it, but we might be putting together an event in spring of 2018. So we'll keep you guys posted, but we want to thank Mark and his son Scotty for helping us out. We definitely got the Weatherbys lined up and ready to go for a good hunting season.
Good time.
Thanks, Mark.